Good morning. How are you, Kendra?
I'm good. It's not snowing, it's just raining, so that's
We
good.
we always seem to record on these gloomy, rainy days. It's not helpful. I sit by the window for this natural light and there's just no natural light. So I'm sitting in a very dark room.
hmm I
But
have a ring light on because same. It's like I'm in this little dark corner.
yeah, at least now that we're into March, I feel like if we do get a good snowstorm, I mean, I think it's like 36 degrees today and rainy, so we just missed the snow. But if we do get it, I'm hoping that it'll melt really fast. It's always the case where we get that, like 12 inches in March, but it's 70 degrees the next day.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I
me
can
too.
handle it now. Like we missed the crazy like January, early February when it can be like days and days.
Yeah,
So yay! It's
I
because my kids
know.
got sleds.
I know, right? You did it. This was all because of you, because you bought your children sleds. Thank you very much. I know. Well, we're actually planning an RV trip out west. We are flying into Denver and we are going to be traveling around the Rockies into Moab, Utah, and then back through Colorado. And apparently, April is the snowiest month in the Rockies. So
Well, that should be so fun in an
I know.
RV.
Spring break in the snow, bring your
Oh.
snowshoes. I don't really know how to pack for that. So it could be 70, it could be 20. I don't know. So we may not escape the snow. My family may not.
Well, that'll be fun though.
If your
Maybe.
idea of fun is having five people in
Maybe
a
not.
30-foot living space,
It'll be interesting. It'll be memorable. Memorable.
honestly, I haven't been excited about anything in a really long time. And that's just kind of a funny joke in our family, but also kind of sad where, the kids will be like, Mom, are you excited to do this? Da da da. And I'm like, I'm looking forward to it. I can't say I'm excited, but I'm looking forward to it. So they always joke that Mom always says she's looking forward to it. But this time I'm actually excited. Like, I think because we haven't been on a real vacation. We've been to the beach, which is nice. It's relaxing, but we haven't like done an active vacation in a while. And I'm hoping this is going to be really active and we're going to be hiking and exploring and challenging ourselves in a new way in an RV. So we'll
That's
see.
so cool. It's going to be beautiful. Like, take lots of pictures.
I will. I sure will. And I'm going to hopefully check out from the internet. You've been on your Instagram sabbatical,
Mhm.
sort of
Yeah.
sabbatical. And
Yeah.
I'm really hoping to check out for those 10 days. And I don't even know what kind of access I'll have. It'll probably be better than what we have here because our internet is terrible, but I'm going to check out. How's your Instagram disconnect going?
So good, except for I kind of had to break it in that I was missing my news. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I get my news. So many of these people, that's really their only, other than podcasts. And I love listening to podcasts, but I also love to just be able to quickly read through like what the current daily events are. And so I was like, I missed that. Like, let me just, so I created a little fake account where, and I also missed like seeing what you're talking about, because then that helps what we're going to talk about, and like all that. So I created a little fake one and I have 5 people that I follow and that's it. Like I get on, I swipe through their stories and then I'm done. So it's good. It's been hard though, because I have caught myself because Instagram does this little thing where like none of the people that I'm following have posts. So it'll say suggested for you. And
Yeah.
it does this little thing where it tries
It
to get
wants you
me to
to.
touch it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, these bad monkey. And so that's been a challenge, but so far so good. I haven't gotten sucked in. I've looked at my news and gotten off and it's been nice.
That's awesome. Cause I mean, back when I started on Instagram, well, really, I was super late in getting into Instagram. I was on it, but I never really was on it. And at that time, I would scroll through and then it'd be like, that's all. Like, you just get a little message. It's like, you've had the end of the post. And it was kind of like,
You're all
okay,
caught up.
yeah, you're all caught up. And now you're never all caught up. And I'm seeing people's content from like December, which I don't know. I guess it's a whole new thing. I haven't been on it nearly as often, or I haven't been sharing as often. That's usually the first thing to drop for me when things get busy. In January and February, we're really busy, and that's a good thing. But I have a lot of people who will mention that they appreciate the content, and that's good to know, because you just sometimes put it out there and you're like, is this helpful?
Is anybody listening?
Yeah. Right. Is this worth the energy? Because sometimes it takes a lot of energy. And so yeah, I haven't really been on it nearly as often. But I can tell you haven't been missing a whole lot. It's probably a nice break, but I miss you. I miss you on Instagram. So I like that we see each other, we communicate this way. And you were telling me something earlier that, like, we were talking about what's happened this week in current events, and you just got to share the McDonald's.
So yeah, I heard, so that's the other thing. I canceled my Sirius XM thing on my car because I was like, $30, crazy. Anyway, so I've been listening to the actual radio where you get commercials. And so I heard this commercial where it was like a news tidbit from the like DJ. And he said that there was McDonald's in Kentucky that are rolling out, they're going to be selling Krispy Kremes at McDonald's now, in like a bunch of McDonald's restaurants in Kentucky. And I was like, what?
That's crazy.
What in the world? And then you're like, I wonder how many people in Kentucky have diabetes or pre-diabetes.
Right. And connecting all of these dots. It is a lot. I mean, 1 in 3 Americans have pre-diabetes, and 80% of them don't know it. So if you're looking at your family or your friends, and you're looking at 1/3 of our groups they have pre-diabetes and don't even know it. And I see that all the time, because I will get new clients, and I'll say, send me all of your labs, send me everything. And when I see their labs and I see elevated blood sugar, or an elevated, like either a fasting blood sugar or what's called an A1C, which is how well you control your blood sugar over 3 months. When I see those, I'll say, or I'll ask, did your doctor mention this to you? Did he say or she say that you were pre-diabetic, or are you diabetic? And a lot of times they don't know. They're not told. They don't know what those numbers mean.
Yeah, it's like, until you get to the point that you need the medication, there's nothing really said. And it's completely preventable, right? Like, people can reverse this situation in their body. It's not just like doomsday of, if you're pre-diabetic, you're automatically going to become diabetic, right? Like, for adults.
Right. Well, so on one hand, if you're pre-diabetic, you pretty much are going to be diabetic unless you do something to reverse it. So it really is completely reversible. And we're talking about type 2 diabetes, not type 1. That's a whole different ball game, because that's not necessarily driven by diet and lifestyle, but type 2 diabetes is reversible. And if you are pre-diabetic and you're not making active changes to reverse that, then you will be diabetic. It's only a matter of time. The thing is that I think we often sort of conflate weight loss with reversing diabetes. And there's definitely a connection between weight and obesity and overweight and poor blood sugar control. But simply losing weight does not address the underlying issue of insulin resistance.
Yes. So I love that you said that, because what the heck is insulin resistance? Like, I keep hearing this word and I kind of know what it means, but not really. Like, because it's like you hear it and you think, well, me personally, I'm like, well, my blood work all looks great. I'm not pre-diabetic. I don't have any of these things. When you Google insulin resistant symptoms or signs, I don't have any of those things. So what the heck is insulin resistance, Stacie?
I know. I feel like we sort of jumped ahead. We put the cart before the horse a little bit in awareness of blood sugar management and awareness of this by just talking about insulin resistance all the time. And people don't even know what that means. And it's like, if you haven't heard that from your doctor, if your doctor hasn't said you're insulin resistant, you probably have checked out from that conversation, to be honest, because you don't know what it means, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, well, I don't have that. My doctor didn't say that. But insulin resistance is what happens when your cells stop responding to insulin. So just back up, you'll eat your carbs, you'll eat your sugar, and your blood sugar starts to rise. When your blood sugar starts to rise, your body produces a hormone called insulin. Insulin's not a bad thing, unless it is produced in excess. Now, it should produce the insulin to push your blood sugar down. And then, we see that blood sugar go back down to where it was before you ate within a couple of hours in an ideal world. But when our cells, and just to be clear, what happens when that insulin is pushing the blood sugar down is your glucose is going to your cells. It's being used for energy. It's being used by your brain, by your muscles. And so we want that insulin to push the glucose into our cells so we have energy. So what happens is if our cells become resistant, we're producing more and more insulin, but that blood sugar is still going up and the glucose is not going to be used for energy at that point. So you're going to be tired. You're going to start gaining weight. You might have skin tags. You might have some dark patches like on your neck or on your armpits. You may have some different sort of symptoms that we always chalk up with aging, chalk it up to aging. But what's happening is we are producing more and more insulin and those cells are not responding. They are resistant to the insulin. So we're not using our food as energy. It's just going to be stored as fat.
Ew, those are nasty words.
Yeah. Stored as fat.
Nobody wants that.
No, nobody wants that. And I do think over time, with age, that some of that is natural because our cells are also aging. We have a loss of mitochondria, which is where that energy is produced in the cell. And so there's some of that going on that is natural with aging, but it's sort of this vicious cycle too, because you have these sugar cravings where you eat sugar, your blood sugar goes up. And then when it finally comes back down, your body is demanding more sugar because it wants to go high again. Right. And so then you're craving it. And it's not even like willpower at that point. You're just craving it. You eat it, it goes down. And it's just this vicious cycle. And so then that just makes you more insulin resistant. And you have to kind of think about it at the cellular level because our metabolism happens at the cellular level. Metabolism is not just something that's how we lose weight, which is what we think of when we think like, oh, my metabolism is slow. Okay, yes. But what that means is like your energy production is slow. You aren't using your fuel and then producing energy for everything that your body needs to do all day long. And so that's where the metabolism is occurring or maybe not occurring.
So we just aren't efficient at using that. It's like our body is ignoring the fact that this is happening and that glucose is just going where it's not supposed to.
Right. It's being stored as fat. And so insulin then becomes a fat storage hormone. And in the low carb keto world, you'll hear a lot about that. You'll hear a lot about how, okay, well, if we avoid carbs, then we don't produce insulin. And if we don't produce insulin, then we're able to avoid insulin resistance. And then if we can avoid insulin resistance, we can lose weight and that'll work out fine, right? So you'll hear a lot about insulin being the fat storage hormone. However, what happens when you're on the keto diet is, first of all, it's not sustainable forever for a lot of people. So your body then doesn't really know what to do with the glucose if you do start eating carbs, and it can actually make you more insulin resistant.
I was going to say, that seems like a perfect storm for creating insulin resistance, like eventually, like maybe not while you're in doing active keto, but you can't do it forever. So when you suddenly reintroduce those carbs, your body's like, what in the heck is this?
Right. And so then you're trapped, you're kind of stuck in this keto lifestyle that, again, isn't totally sustainable, doesn't totally address the issue. Now, some people, I know people who can do a ketogenic diet forever and ever, and they're very happy that way. But I don't see that being a practical solution to insulin resistance. There are better ways to minimize insulin and to increase that sensitivity in the cells. There are better ways that I think are more sustainable lifestyle strategies that, that you can do to both burn fat and increase that sensitivity.
Yes. So tell me more. What are those things?
Yeah, well, yes, all the things. I mean, I do think that having a shorter eating window, like a shorter period of time where you're eating and where you have fewer blood glucose highs and lows, right? So if you're eating 3 times a day versus 6 times a day, if you're eating 6 times a day, you're producing insulin 6 times a day. That's more and more insulin all day long. Whereas if you are only eating 3 times a day in a shorter window, your body only has to produce insulin those 3 times. So automatically doing some time restricted eating or intermittent fasting can be helpful to minimize how much insulin is produced over a period of time.
So less eating times too. Like I did that for years where I did the 3 meals and 2 snacks or 3 snacks. Cause we were told like, you got to keep your metabolism up. You got to keep, the food coming. So your metabolism, okay. So good to know, like really 3 meals is plenty.
I prefer 3 meals. Now, I'm not going to tell you I never have a snack, and I'm not an anti-snack person. I think snacks can fit, but I do think most people do better when they have more time between meals to really utilize the glucose or the sugar that they've had at a mealtime. But part of that, effectively maintaining blood sugar throughout the day is also eating a balanced meal or a balanced snack. So your snacks should always be like a meal. They should just be a mini meal. They should have protein, fat, and carbohydrates. And you may need to decrease the amount of carb you're eating if you're insulin resistant. I'm not, again, I don't think you need to go to a ketogenic diet, but a lower carb, somewhere between 20 to 30% of your carbs from, or of your calories from carbs would be probably a good place for most people.
So more like moderate carb type.
Yeah, a moderate carb. I think having some carb with every meal is fine. And it'll help you feel satisfied. It'll help to teach your body how to use that glucose as energy. But it's also, important to have the fat and the protein with that so that we make sure that we're not having a spike in glucose and that we're going to be craving sugar an hour later. If you eat a well-balanced meal and it's enough, it's the right, portion size for you, then you should be able to go, 4 hours without a snack.
Yeah, that seems doable. Like,
yeah,
it's just fascinating that, that's kind of the opposite of what, like, I think if more people knew that this was happening I had no idea this happens every time you eat something that like, or drink something, like if it's calories, right? If it has like caloric content. So like you're drinking a coffee from Starbucks, so it's like, how often are we, like, I'm just thinking, so like how many times I have coffee with creamer in it, like if every time I'm doing that, I'm getting a spike, like that, well, no wonder.
Right. You are triggering that insulin response, and you're not. So fat will not trigger the insulin response, which again is why a ketogenic diet works for a lot of people. Again, in the short term, it definitely works. Because you're eating fat, it's not promoting an insulin response. Protein will to some degree. So you could still have somewhat of a blood sugar response to protein. And then certainly all of your carbs. So, depending on your carbs that you choose, you could have more or less of a insulin response. Higher fiber carbs, more nutrient dense carbs are going to have a slower, they're going to have less of a blood sugar response. Fiber will help to buffer that a little bit. But if you're eating like a bagel or pasta or just, stuff that is just sugar, I mean, your syrup in your coffee, like when people put like
a pump of whatever.
A pump of whatever is like
Pump
just
of
straight
vanilla
sugar to your blood. Your fruit juice is straight sugar to your blood. Now, fruit has fiber, so you're not going to be processing that quite as quickly. You're not going to see that jump. You're not going to see the roller coaster, the blood sugar roller coaster. It's going to be more of a gentle rolling hill if you're including the fiber, the protein, the fat. If you have all of those with your carbs, that helps to slow it down. In fact, just thinking about nutrient timing. So obviously intermittent fasting is a strategy for nutrient timing. It's a good way for, doing like a 16-hour fast, 12 to 16 hours a day, and eating in an 8 to 12-hour window. That is helpful for increasing that sensitivity. But even at a mealtime, just eating the vegetables first can be another nutrient timing strategy to help slow down that blood sugar response. So eating your vegetables, eating a salad. Yeah. Just eating a salad before you eat the rest of your meal will help to reduce that insulin produced.
Wow.
Yeah, because that fiber is what's going to slow down the blood sugar. That means you will need less insulin, and that's going to help you gain more insulin sensitivity. If you don't have to produce, quite as much, your body is going to sort of figure out how to go back to using that glucose as energy.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
Like eating.
Isn't it?
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Or just like if you're having broccoli with your dinner, eat your broccoli. I joke, I laugh because Mike is one of those people that he eats his food in order. Like he doesn't like eat a bite of chicken, eat a bite of pasta, eat a bite of, doesn't go all around. He's like, eats the thing, eats the thing, eats the thing. Yeah. And I always thought that was so weird. But one of my kids does it too, just randomly. But that's funny, like to think of.
As long as he's going in the right order.
Right. So I'm gonna tell him.
That's very beneficial. Well, it's funny because we tend to do a lot of bowls. Like we will do bowls with either, I don't know, with whatever vegetable, maybe rice, maybe quinoa, maybe just lettuce, meat, we kind of throw everything in a bowl. But my one of my children is like everything, he wants to eat everything separately too. And then I think, maybe like for so many years before now, I mean, for a long time, people would eat salads before dinner. I never eat a salad before dinner now. Like,
no, I'll have a salad as my dinner, but I'm like, my dad is one of those people at a restaurant. He always wants the salad before he eats his meal. Yeah. And I'm always like, I don't want to eat the salad because I want to eat the meal. Like I came here for the good stuff. Like, but that's so interesting.
It's like, did they know? I don't know. It's more like fine dining, which we just don't do, where you would get your salad, but but yeah, it's just curious because I feel like we've gotten away from that style of eating. Everything is just kind of in a bowl, like throw it all together, which is fine. And I'm not saying that every single meal you have to sit down and be conscious about, like, I'm going to pick out the vegetables out of my bowl and eat those first. You don't have to do that. But like, if
Right.
you can, I think that's a really cool strategy, just to know, if I'm going to eat this bowl of pasta, I'm going to eat the broccoli and I'm going to eat
Yeah,
the
like
veggies and the protein first, and then, kind of add in the pasta.
yeah,
Or
you're eating it anyway. Like
mm-hmm.
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that I think is so critical for improving that sensitivity is strength training, because we are going to be more sensitive. We use insulin to actually build muscle. So if you time your carbs right, again, it's not going to be every day, but if you time your carbs right and you're eating your carbs around your strength training, you're going to use that insulin response to the carbs. You're going to use that to help build muscle. I mean, insulin's not necessarily the bad guy. It has a lot of roles in our body. But if you are sedentary and you're eating a lot of carbohydrate without, the protein and fat and the fiber, that's where you are going to be more likely to see that insulin resistance, because the insulin is just, it's going to take so much more. It's not being, like, the glucose is not getting used and shuttled into the muscles, right? Because you're not using your muscles. So that's why you want to make sure you incorporate strength training if you are insulin resistant, if you have any symptoms of blood glucose dysregulation or poor blood glucose management, if you're pre-diabetic, strength training, so key.
Again, something no one talks about.
No.
Like,
no.
I have a family member who is pre-diabetic, and yeah, that's not, it's just lose weight and you won't be,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Um,
It kind of makes me crazy because yeah, I think losing weight will help.
right, but it's
But how
not,
are
there's
you going to
more that
lose
can be
weight?
done. Yeah,
Right.
like I'm like, you just gave me a bunch of tools to put in my tool belt, that actually probably might also result in weight loss, but that's not, I don't know that, that's not my main focus. Is like, yes, that would be great, but I want to not be insulin resistant. So it's kind of like stair steps, like you're insulin resistant and then you don't do anything about it. You just keep rolling along, and then you're pre-diabetic and you don't do anything about it and you keep rolling along. And then next thing you know, you're diabetic and you're on medication potentially.
Exactly. So I have a client who has been diabetic for decades, and we really started a very whole foods based diet. He started avoiding certain inflammatory foods that we identified as being inflammatory. And he had a stent put in too recently. And so he was doing rehab at the gym, and he was doing great. A lot more activity. He was doing strength training. He was feeling good. Well, what floored me was that the gym, this rehab gym, has a policy that if the blood sugar drops below 100, they give the client like Sprite or juice to get the blood sugar back up. Now, his blood sugar, so ideally you want to be under 100, right? That is like not considered diabetic, right?
That's the
So that
goal.
would
That's
be
the
awesome.
goal.
Right. Exercise can help you manage your blood sugar 100%. Just taking a 10-minute walk after meal times is a great way to have your blood sugar come down. So exercise is a fantastic way to manage your blood sugar. But his blood sugar was like 92 after his workout, and they're pumping him full of Sprite to get his blood sugar back up to 120, which is considered diabetic. So I felt like lost my head on that. This is what we want. We want people to be under 100. We want to see that reversal. And I don't know what they were scared of. I don't know if they felt like it would drop too much. Now, if you're a type 1 diabetic, I can see how you may be, that may be a policy that you need to have in place. But as a type 2 diabetic, if you are in the 90s after your workout, that's awesome. If you are dropping below, hey, let's maybe have let's have a snack then. Let's not drink straight
maybe
up
a piece
sugar.
of fruit.
Yeah, have a piece of fruit. Have, you know, like a banana with some peanut butter. Have something that's going to be, again, those slow carbs. You don't have to shoot like a rocket right back up to diabetic level, you know, blood sugar. It just floored me that this is the policy our medical
facility,
medical system facility, this is a hospital gym, has in place. And when I told him that, he's like, wow, maybe they want me to stay on medication. Bingo. Bingo. I mean, there's more money to be made if you're keeping people diabetic. And I have to believe that that's why people aren't being told that they're pre-diabetic, because there's money to be made. And whether it's a conscious effort on the part of the health practitioner, I don't know. I really think that there are doctors out there who aren't like this, but when I find people who've been seeing their practitioners and they aren't being told, they're not being told how to manage their diabetes or referred out, I'm feeling like it's almost borderline negligent at this point. I
even think that just telling someone, oh, you should lose weight. Well, I mean, that's great, but like, obviously this is not something that comes natural to someone who is in this position. They're most likely overweight. They're most likely have some other health issues happening that have landed them here. It's not intuitive for them to figure out. They're not going to be like, well, I need to start eating salads and focusing on protein and strength training. They're not going to think of that themselves. They're just going to be like, gosh, I mean, I should lose weight. I can't stop eating these chips. You know, like then it comes back to people just feel like a failure. And then it's that vicious cycle again of, they just, you know, go back to the doctor the next year and they've gone up a little bit, their numbers creeped up a little bit. And it's like, well, you're still pre-diabetic.
Yeah. And what I think one of the problems is that the nutrition education that is given to both doctors, nurses, and patients still has patients eating carbs every 2 hours. You know, it's like, oh, well, I need to have carbs because I'm diabetic. I'm like, no, you don't have to have carbs. I mean, carbs should be included, but you know, you don't need to go eat a biscuit in order to get your blood sugar right. Like there's a lot of poor education, a lot of poor nutrition education in the medical facilities. And then they expect people to lose weight doing, here's this meal plan you should try. And they expect people to lose weight eating inflammatory junk. A lot of times it's just like, start your day off with a bowl of cereal and milk. And that's just inflammatory junk. It's not going to get you more insulin sensitive. It's not going to help you improve muscle or use your insulin to build muscle. It's just junk. And, you know, blood sugar is an inflammatory response, but it also responds to inflammation. And so, you know, sometimes if we just really take out the inflammatory stuff, like the inflammatory foods, that can make a huge difference because the body is responding. Blood sugar is just like a barometer of like, it's like a red flag, right? That elevated blood sugar is just a red flag that there are things that need to be paid attention to. And even, you know, tooth infections that you don't know about can drive your blood sugar up. You have no idea you even have this tooth infection or any other, like a gut infection. Gut infections can drive that blood sugar up. So you kind of have to look at it holistically, but always diet is the first place to start. And then that exercise, the strength training is the, you know, the flip side that you need to be doing.
I cannot get over the Sprite. Like
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I could see like sending him home with something like, hey, if you start to feel lightheaded on the drive home, that's probably an indication that you've gone too low. Take some sips of orange juice or whatever. But
have a tangerine, have a
right, like
clementine.
let's throw some clementines in a bag
Right.
for you.
Right.
Well, that's like just when I go and donate blood, like they have the junkiest, crappiest snacks.
I know, right? I can't eat
Which
anything there. Yeah.
part of me loves because it's like, ooh, I treat myself because I did something good. But now not being able to have gluten and not trying to have dairy, like it's literally, I take my own snack, like,
Oh, yeah.
and even something like V8 juice, like it's full of sugar. Like it's not, there's like, and I get
Well,
it. They can't have, perishables like apples and things like that. But, in these traveling ones, like I think probably the main donation center could have that, but I haven't been there in forever. But yeah, it's like, I don't think these are the best, and my mom went through that with cancer when she had her cancer treatment, and they were like, she just should eat whatever she can eat because we don't want her to lose weight. And it's like, but she's diabetic. And they're like, it doesn't matter. Like she can have Ensure, she can have milkshakes, she can have all this. And it's like, wait.
yeah.
No.
No.
I understand what you're saying, but and like they would push the cart around. Like all the cart at the cancer place is full of Cokes and junk, all 100% junk. And it's like, is
Oh,
this
yeah. You
the
can't eat
best?
healthy in a hospital.
Is
I
this the
mean,
best thing for these people who are struggling with cancers in their body when sugar feeds cancer? Like we know this. It's not news, and certainly not to these people because it's what they do. Like,
well,
it
it's
makes me
not
mad.
a treat. I mean, you think about like, oh, I'm going to treat myself. It's not a treat if it makes you feel bad or if it creates a health issue, if it's creating inflammation. I mean, it's not a treat if it inherently makes you feel bad or feel worse. Most people feel worse from eating that stuff. And yet a lot of times they don't know or they can't identify, why do I feel worse? Like, what is it that's making me feel worse? And then, because you feel bad, you do make worse choices. I think it's again, kind of that vicious cycle of, well, I don't feel good, so then I can't make good choices. And I make, poor choices and then I don't feel good.
Well, and you get that mouth pleasure, it's
Mhm.
fun to eat an Oreo, like it
Mhm.
tastes good, but then, that horrible feeling afterwards. It's like I can always tell when I'm not supposed to be eating something because I get so tired
Oh,
after I've
yeah.
eaten it. And it's like that is a huge
Like
sign.
narcoleptic. Yeah.
Yes,
Like I
like
can't drive. I'm
literally.
not safe to drive, kind of like sleepy. Yeah. That was a huge symptom of mine before I identified the things that I like that were triggering the inflammation. It was
Mhm.
bad.
It's ice cream for me. If I eat ice
Mhm.
cream, I might just assume I'm a passed out person on the couch.
Here's the thing. So you can make such great alternatives to the junk that we buy in the stores and at, Dairy Queen or whatever. There's so many great whole food alternatives. My kids gave me a Ninja Creamy for Mother's Day. I didn't know I needed it, but they were like, I always feel bad. I feel bad, Mom. You can never have ice cream, which isn't something they eat very often. But when they do, I usually don't because I can't eat it. I can't tolerate it. But they got this for me. So we've had so much fun using just canned coconut milk. It's just coconut and water. We use a little bit of maple syrup, splash of vanilla, just like the best vanilla ice cream ever. Or we'll put strawberries in it, or we'll add cocoa powder. I mean, you can do whatever. Even a can of pineapple makes the best pineapple sorbet. It's so easy.
Well,
And
Faster Way had that in one of their recipes, I feel
yeah.
like
Mhm.
last week. And I was like, that looks so good.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
like
so
sherbet.
simple. It is so simple. You don't even have to have a Ninja Creamy, but I will say it does make
Makes it
life
easier.
fun. Yeah. I mean, it's a fun summer thing. I had a bunch of coconut milk that was coming up on expiration. So I was like, let's make a ton of different flavors of ice cream. And I don't feel bad when I eat it, and I don't feel bad after. I feel good. I'm like, there's benefits to coconut milk. I enjoy eating it. It tastes good. So that to me is so much more satisfying, and it's such a nice treat. And yet it's just so simple, and I make it at home, and it's probably cheaper than anything.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, or things with sugar. It's like, I think I was telling you about how I saw the gluten-free Oreos at Aldi, and I was like, ooh, because my sister I've never bought them for myself, but my sister bought them for me when they came out because she knows like Oreo was like my thing.
Yeah.
And I was devastated to, when you can't have gluten, you can't have Oreos. So, oh my gosh, the double stuffed gluten-free ones, they taste just like, of course, now it's been,
Right. You
8
forget
years
it.
since I had a real one.
Yeah.
But oh my God. But I looked at them and I was like, I'm not going to be able to just eat 2, which is the serving size. And then I'm going to feel like total crap.
Yeah.
So the best thing for me is to leave them there on the shelf. And that's what I did.
Yeah. You can't have that in the house.
No, because I would eat like I would be miserable, but I would still eat them.
Yeah.
Like,
Because it's that cycle that, again, is not willpower.
no,
It's not willpower. It's literally your body has, it's like a drug. I mean, sugar gives you that same kind of dopamine response. It gives you that same, like pleasure in the moment. But as soon as your blood sugar starts dropping, your body's like, I need another hit. I need another hit. Give me more. And, when you break that, finally, it's really hard to do. I think the best way to stop eating sugar is just to do cold turkey. And that's not easy, but after you do it, I mean, you've done it, like I've done it. Once you do it, you're much less likely to go back to it, because if you feel that
everything tastes so sweet.
right.
Everything, like grapes, tastes like so insanely sweet.
Berries are amazing. I mean, apples, so sweet. It's really kind of crazy how much it retrains your taste buds, and again, gives you back that insulin sensitivity and gets you off of that vicious cycle. And I think that's what you have to think about. You don't want to get back on that cycle. And if you have gotten off of it before, it's not easy. It's a drug.
It's easier to stop drinking alcohol than to stop sugar.
No, I don't know if I told you this in one of our other shows, but I feel like maybe I did. Friend of mine who has a trucking company, they had to go pick up sugar. Their trucks were going to get sugar from a sugar factory. And the truck drivers were like, we're never eating sugar again, because they were driving trucks on top of the sugar and then putting it like into the truck. I mean, like mind blowing that is, then it's being shoveled into a truck after it's being driven on, and then it's being used in our food. It's being used at processing. So beyond just, a lot of people are like, I don't understand. Like, can I still eat fruit? Can I still have honey? Yeah. I mean, I would still enjoy those kinds of natural sweeteners, but what is happening to white refined sugar is not natural. And you don't know what else you're getting in there.
Well, they also bleach it or something, right? Because isn't it like really brown? Like sugar is technically like a light brown color.
Like that raw sugar.
Yeah. Like, ooh.
So I don't trust it. I don't know. There's a reason why we don't do well with it. Why is it inflammatory? Is it because it's been driven on top of? It's like,
oh my gosh.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Ew.
So anyway, to summarize, Insulin resistance is reversible. Pre-diabetes is reversible. Diabetes is reversible. It is all about your lifestyle. It's whole food nutrition. It is nutrient timing, making sure that you are giving your body a break from sugar, from digesting, from the insulin. And then strength training and walking. I mean, those two things, strength training and walking, are very effective tools for helping to bring down your blood sugar and shuttle that glucose into the brain, into the muscles where it needs to be, into those cells. So that's what I would tell, at a very basic level, like start doing those things. There's always more that we can do though. There's always more tools in the toolbox. It's prevention over prescription for sure.
Yeah. That's a great place to start though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just floored by don't eat as often and eat that fibrous stuff first. Like, I can't wait to try that.
Yeah. Well, you're already, in the Faster Way program, we do a lot of that. We're not actively we're consciously aware of why we're doing it or what we're doing, but we're doing intermittent fasting. We are focused on fiber. We're doing carb cycling, which is another strategy we won't have time to talk about today, but carb cycling is another great nutrient timing tool for teaching our bodies to be metabolically flexible, burn carbs, burn fat. That's what you want. And helps us, learn how to use that insulin. My blood sugar now is better. Now that I'm carb cycling, I have better glucose control than I did when I was on a low carb diet. I was on a low carb diet for years. And then I was nervous to introduce carbs, to eat more of them. But my blood sugar looks better than it did, how many years ago was that? Probably 5. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're doing a lot of those strategies. You're doing a lot of those strategies.
I like knowing the why though. It helps me to know the reason or what it's helping, like what it's helping with.
Oh yeah, me too. Well, that is one thing that I really love to do, is to share the why with my clients, even when they don't want to know. They're like, okay, just tell me what to do. Just give me a meal plan. Give me the workouts, give me the meal plan. Okay, well, I do that too. I will just give you the information, but I get to sit here all day and tell you why you need to do it. So yeah, there will be more of that to come.
Yeah. This was fun. I'm so excited. I love when I learn something.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you asked the question, what the heck is insulin resistance? Because a lot of people just don't even know. But everybody needs to be paying attention to their blood sugar. No matter what their doctor has told them, they need to be paying attention. So if you do have questions about that, I did do a blog post on that. So on my website, I did kind of walk through some strategies for better blood glucose control and sort of talking through why we need to think about blood sugar. So whatever we didn't cover today, there's probably some information on that on my website. So go there, staciehnutrition.com, STACIEH nutrition.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Can't wait to find out what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah, I know. Stay tuned, everybody. Get excited. Definitely leave if you have an idea, if you'd like a show, if you have a question, drop that in the comments section, because we really do want to answer your questions and just be real about it. No sugarcoating, no pun intended. No sugarcoating, because we know how nasty sugar is. And, drop us your questions and your comments, and we will work that into a show. All right,
awesome.
All right. Bye.
Bye.